And this tutorial I'll be showing you high-end skin retouching from the very start to the very end in Photoshop. And if at all you want to download the image follow along with this tutorial, check the links in the description of this video so that you can download and follow along as you're trying to learn how to edit this image from the very start to the very end. And don't forget to like this video and also hit the subscribe button on this video. So after that, just come, so to import the raw image in Photoshop, simply right click on the image and simply come to open with and select Photoshop 2025. Then if at all you want to import it the other way, you can simply drag and drop the image to Photoshop after opening up Photoshop. So you can just drag the image and drop it in Photoshop and it's going to automatically open up the camera raw filter, as you can see. So the very first thing we have to do for a raw image is first of all color correcting or correcting the contrast and lighting issues regarding the image. So just going to come the adjustments or in the light option right here, and simply you're just going to take the highlights down just like that to get rid of the shininess on the face. And we're also going to do the same for the whites, and that is going to reduce on the hot spot on the face. Then you're going to come and open up the shadows slightly and take the blacks down. Then you're going to come and add contrast to the image. Then after that, just come and open up the exposure slightly, and you can see what we have right now. This is the before after. So after doing that, we're simply going to come and open up the shadows even more up to when you feel like the image has been color corrected better. So you can see before after. So when you find that the hot spots are a little bit too much for your liking, you can as well come and take the whites down. So this is it for portraits. I only do these adjustments. So I'll just come to temperature, and remember temperature either warms up or cools up the image. So you can cool down the image to your taste by moving the temperature slider towards the blue side, or you can warm the image by moving the temperature slider towards the right hand side or towards the yellow side. So for my case, I'll just warm it up slightly to around 5000 kelvins, and you can see the before after. So after doing that, we're just going to come and make sure to have selected. So simply click here and simply left click and come and make sure you select 16 bits per channel, because we want to deal with so much information in the image. And make sure sharpen for screen is checked and screen is selected right here. Sharpen for is checked and screen is selected. Amount is set to standard and click OK. So after doing that, we're just going to come and hit open the image in Photoshop for us to do the next adjustments. So when it comes to Photoshop, the very first thing we want to do is cropping the image to our liking. So in order to crop the image, simply come and left click on the crop tool and select it. And after selecting the crop tool, you can click in the image to approve that. So after getting the crop tool, I make sure that the ratio is set to 4:5 or 8:10, and I'll simply crop the image. So you can drag up or you can move these corners to crop the image to your preference or to your liking. So I'm just going to crop it right there and hit enter or return to crop the image. So after you have done that, we're just going to go straight into the skin retouching, and at the end we're going to be doing color grading and how we can perfect the background in this case. So what we want to do, we're just going to be using frequency separation. And remember, frequency separation is a skin retouching technique that is going to divide the image into the colors and the textures. So we're going to get this same image and dissect it into colors and textures. So just come to this background layer and simply press Ctrl J, or you can use Command J. So just press it twice to create these two layers, and you can double click, rename that layer to low, and apply is going to be the high. So the high frequency layer is for textures and the low frequency layer is for colors. So after doing that, just come and select the low frequency layer and turn off the high frequency layer. And after turning it off, we are simply going to come and ensure that we only have colors in the low frequency layer. So we're going to come to filter right here and simply come to blur and come to Gaussian blur. So when you come to Gaussian blur, simply take the radius all the way down and click on an area that you feel has more skin textures. So for this area, we're just going to use this as a sample area for the textures on the skin. So after doing that, So this is going to be a reference point for the skin textures in the image. So just come to the radius slider, right click and start dragging up the radius slider. So left click and drag and release the left click button to see the preview in real time. So the major point for this is we have to blur away the details, and as we're moving the slider, we have to stop at the point whereby the textures or the details are just starting to disappear or get lost from the image. So just going to take this up just like that. So at around 6, that is when the details or the textures in the skin are just starting to disappear, but I can identify where the textures were initially. So depending on the image that you're going to be editing, or depending on the amount of details in the photo that you're going to be editing, this is the most important step when it comes to frequency separation. And I oftentimes see so many people complaining about how they are not able to retain skin details, so they usually mess up when it comes to this step. So this step is basically you have to stop at the point whereby you are just starting to close out on the skin details or the textures in the skin. So after doing that, just come and click OK, and after clicking OK, come and select the high frequency layer, and you can notice that when we did that, the image turned to lose or get out of focus, but don't mind about that. So select the high frequency layer and now come and turn it on. Then you're going to come to image and come to apply image. So when you come to apply image, it's going to open up the apply image dialog box right here. So make sure the layer you select the low frequency layer. Remember, we extracted the details from the low frequency layer and we placed them somewhere. So just want to select this and get back the textures from the low frequency layer. Make sure the channel is RGB. The blending has to be add. Remember, we are dealing with a 16-bit image. The scale has to be 2 and offset 0. So just type in these two values. Opacity at 100%, preserve transparency and mask and check, and simply turn on the invert option. And as soon as you turn it on, make sure that the preview is turned on, and you can see the textures are appearing on this gray-like kind of layer. But we have one problem, which is you can see that we are lacking the details or the information in the image. The layer fine contains textures, but the image is hidden behind this gray layer or overlay. So just come to this blend mode and click and turn it to linear light, and that blend mode is going to hide the gray color from affecting the image. So we're going to put this two in a group by pressing Ctrl G, or you can use Command G on the keyboard to put this two in a group. So when you turn off the original image, you can see we basically have the same image in this case. And when you open up this group, you can see we have the image with colors and we have the same image with only texture. So when you combine both, we end up with the same image. So just come and turn this back on. So after dividing the image, the next thing is going to be working on the skin or doing the skin retouching. Remember, we are going to be using frequency separation, and we have two tools that are commonly used when it comes to editing or retouching using frequency separation. And the first tool is the mixer brush tool, and the other tool is the lasso tool. So for the first step that we're going to be doing right now, we are going to first of all understand how to use the mixer brush tool. Remember, when we are doing skin retouching, we basically want to first of all blend the skin tones or the skin color, and later on work on the textures. So just want to use the mixer brush tool to blend the skin tones and have even skin tones. So we're going to come and hide the high frequency layer by turning it off. And remember, as soon as you turn off the high frequency layer, it is going to make the image look blurry, because the layer that is displaying right now is only containing colors, which is the low frequency layer, and it lacks details. So just come and select the low frequency layer after hiding or turning off the high frequency layer. Then you're going to come to the brushes right here and simply right click and get the mixer brush tool. So if at all the mixer brush tool is not displaying under the brushes, you can always locate it below here, or you can simply right click and come to edit toolbar, and you can edit or add the mixer brush tool. So after selecting the mixer brush tool, simply come and set it. So for whichever tool you select in Photoshop, the settings are always going to be above here. So make sure you click on this drop down arrow, make sure the hardness is set to 0 and soft round brush is selected. Then also make sure clean brush is selected. So drop down and select clean brush, because as we're editing on the skin, we want Photoshop to we want the brush not to carry colors from one area to another, because skin tones have different or varying colors. So we're going to come and select the option that says clean the brush after each and every stroke, which is the second option, because we want Command Photoshop to automatically clean the brush and not carry color from a previous area. With a weight of 9%, load 75, mix at 90, flat 100%. Make sure sample all layers is not turned on. And after doing that, the next thing is going to be blending the skin tones. So in order to blend the skin tones, we are going to be using or playing around with different sizes of the mixer brush tool. So if at all the mixer brush tool is showing a plus icon, press the caps lock key on the keyboard. And also, if at all you want to increase or decrease on the size of your mixer brush tool, you can use the open and close box brackets on the keyboard. So after understanding that, we just want to start working on the skin. So in order to work on the skin, we are simply going to get the brush to be as small as possible so that it can remain within a given area. So to blend, for example, this area, we are simply going to left click and hold down, and we blend the colors in that area. So you can see we're just going to left click and hold down and blend the colors in that area. And we're also going to come left click and hold down and blend on the forehead area, just like that. So after mixing a given color, you release the left click button and left click once again on a new color and blend. So we blend by left clicking and hold down and dragging. So if at all you're using a graphics tablet, it is as easy as drawing over that area. So this highlight area, we basically mix colors that are looking alike. So blend just like that. And as you're doing this, make sure that you don't zoom all the way in, because when you zoom all the way in, you can't see the uneven skin tone transitions better. So make sure you are retouching at a distance. So I'm just going to blend just like that. And where these colors are transitioning from one color to another, reduce on the size and get a small brush and blend that area so that you can have a seamless and nice transition between those skin tones or the colors within the skin. But as we're doing this, you can notice that the skin looks to be a little bit like an oil painting, or it looks to be plastic. But when you come back and we turn on the texture layer, you can see the textures are still in the image. So just come and hide this and continue working. And as you are working, make sure to move the brush in a direction of how a given area. So you can see I can't move my brush in this kind of direction because this area is moving in an up down diagonal kind of direction. So I'll use the brush and blend just like that. So you can see, so the work of the mixer brush tool is to blend or even out the uneven skin tones or skin colors so that we can blend the skin to look a little bit better and flawless. So reduce on the size, and you can see nose is moving in this direction. So I'll just blend those colors and also come right here and blend just like that. So I hope you are learning and understanding, and if at all you are still watching to this point, make it a point that you hit the like button on this video, because when you do that, it helps you to push and recommend this channel and this video to many people interested in learning how to easily and edit their images when it comes to Photoshop. So I hope you are finding value in this kind of video or tutorial. So simply do me a favor and hit the like button on this very video, because it helps a lot. So I'm just going to blend every area so you can see. Remember, skin retouching should be done on each and every area that has or contains skin. So I'll just come and paint quickly on the skin. So make sure that you work on each and every area that has skin so that you can have a very nice and seamless image at the end of the process. So I'm just going to blend all this. So you can see I'm not zooming in the image, and I keep on playing around with different sizes of the brush to work on a smaller area, or if at all I'm trying to work on a relatively bigger area on her skin. So you can see When it comes to this hand, I'm just going to blend the tones like that. I hope you can see how nice this is turning out to be. So don't mind if at all the image is looking a little bit plastic. So just come and blend. You can see the mixer brush tool even is very effective, that to some extent it gets rid of those blemishes or textures that you don't need in your image. So I'm just going to blend just like that. You can see I'm following the direction or how the hand is shaped in this case, so that I can keep and maintain the original shape of that area. So you can come back and turn on the texture or high frequency layer to see what you have been able to do. And if at all you missed out a given area, you can now come and paint in those areas to perfect them to your liking. So you can see what we have been able to achieve so far. So I can slightly zoom in and use a small brush to blend on the areas that I may have accidentally missed out when I was trying to paint using the mixer brush tool. So you can even smoothen around the lips just like that. So after blending using the mixer brush tool, the next step is going to be perfecting the areas that we may have missed out when you're trying to blend using the mixer brush tool in this Photoshop. So you can see this is a before after so far. The image looks better. So you can as well incorporate a second tool, that is the lasso tool. So simply come and get the lasso tool and make sure new selection mode is selected and make sure the feathering is 20 pixels and alias is checked right there. And after doing that, we're just going to zoom in this time around and draw a shape. But as you're drawing the shape over the skin, make sure that you keep out from the edges, and the shape has to also follow the way her face or the way the skin or how lighting is following on a given area. So after doing that, after making the selection, simply come to filter. Remember, we have turned on the high frequency layer and you are still selected on the low frequency or the color layer. So just come to blur, come to Gaussian blur, and it is going to bring back the initial or original radius that we use for our frequency separation. One, you can simply drag this up by left clicking and dragging it up as you are releasing to see the effect in real time, and you stop at the point whereby you are just starting to get realistic skin details. But the other thing that you can do, just multiply the radius that you had by 3. So for my case, I used a radius of 6. So I'll just type in the value. So 6 by 3 is 18. So I'll just type in 18, delete 6 and type in 18. So to deselect this area, simply click out from the selection and it is going to simply deselect. Or you can press Ctrl D, or you can use Command D to deselect. So I'll just come and apply my Gaussian blur. So just come, hit OK, and make a new selection. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur, hit OK. Make this selection, filter, blur, and come to Gaussian blur and hit OK. And if at all the effect is too much after applying the Gaussian blur, right click on the selection and simply come to fade Gaussian blur, and you can reduce on the effect to your liking. So I'm just going to be applying this, and when it comes to the nose area, it is not advisable to apply it on the nose area, because when you apply it on the nose area, oftentimes it makes it look a little bit flat, and it is going to make the nose seem to be bigger than it is meant to be. So you have to be careful when it comes to applying it on the nose area. So I'm just going to do that. So for this step, we only apply it on the face area because the face most times has more skin details than the rest of the body. So you can see for the blending of the skin colors, you can see before, and after. So after you have done this, the next thing is going to be perfecting the skin details or the textures. And in this, it involves removing acne, pimples, and blemishes. So you're just going to come to the layer that contains the textures, which is the high frequency layer. Now select it. Then you're going to come and right click, or simply come and press S on the keyboard, or click on the clone stamp tool. Remember, the settings are always going to display up here. So make sure the hardness is set to 0, and make sure the mode is normal, opacity at 100%, flat 100%, and make sure aligned is checked in this case, and the sample is set currently because we just want to remove pimples or blemishes which are part of the currently selected layer, in this case, which is the high frequency layer. Make sure the sample is set on current layer. So after doing that, we're simply going to zoom in, and by the way, if at all the clone sample is showing a plus, simply press the caps lock key on the keyboard. So after doing that, we're just going to zoom into the image by using Ctrl plus, or you can use Command plus on the keyboard. And this time around, we just want to remove pimples or blemishes from the skin. So to remove these pimples, we are simply going to hold down Option, it is for Mac. For Windows, it is the alternate key on the keyboard. So hold it down and make sure the size of the clone stamp tool is slightly bigger than the pimple that you want to remove. So for this step, we just want to copy and stamp clean skin over the blemish, and in that way we're going to be removing the blemish. So hold down the Option key on the keyboard and left click. So Option, or you can use alternate for Windows. So if I mention Option for Windows, simply hold down the alternate key on the keyboard. So Option and left click on a clean area to copy clean skin, and simply left click over the blemish. So Option, left click on a clean area near the pimple or the blemish, and release the Option key on the keyboard and left click once again to replace or cover the pimple or the blemish with clean skin. So that is how we can simply apply the clone stamp tool as we are trying to clean up or remove the pimples or blemishes. And if I told you have just joined the tutorial or this video, simply ensure that you hit the like button on this very video so that you can help the channel grow in the long run, and also help the video to be suggested by YouTube to many photographers out there. So I'll just come and remove or clear most of these skin imperfections. So I'll just come this area and remove all these imperfections so that I can have a better image at the end of the process. Remember, blemish removal is going to contribute over 70% to your overall retouched image. So I'm just going to take more time while trying to clear or clean up the skin imperfections or the blemishes from her skin. So I'm just going to take my time while trying to remove most of these whiteheads in these areas. So like I usually say, always take your time with blemish removal, because you don't want to be that kind of careless retouch at the end of the day. So you can see how perfect the image is going to be. So if at all you are finding this to be monotonous, you can as well forward the video or skip to the next part, which is going to be the color grading process. So I'm just going to remove these blemishes. So make sure you have cleaned up most or majority of the skin imperfections or the blemishes, and you haven't left out any kind of imperfections. Command minus, so you have to keep on zooming in. So Command plus is zooming in, and Command minus is to zoom out when you're trying to edit. So I'm just going to remove, zoom in to look at a smaller area, and you can as well remove those imperfections in those particular or specific areas. So I'm just going to try and fasten or quicken this kind of process. So you can see what we have right now. So I'm just going to look at these areas, and to remove a line, you simply copy and draw over the line. So right now we are done removing the pimples and the blemishes, and let me show the overall before and after for our skin retouching process. So this is the image before, after, before, after, before, and after. The image looks better right now. So anything that we want to do or would love to do is working on the skin or having a uniform skin color. And in order to do that, we're simply going to create a stamp visible layer. A stamp visible layer is basically a merged layer for the layers that we have below. So For Mac, it is Shift Option Command E on the keyboard. For Windows, it is Shift Alternate Control E on the keyboard. Create a stamp visible layer, and you can see it has just been created right there. And after doing that, just come to the empty layer icon and create a new layer to create that empty layer. So after doing that, just come and click on where you see normal. Change the blend mode from normal to color, because we just want to work on the colors. So just come to the brushes, once again right click and get the brush tool, and also make sure the hardness is set to 0 and soft round brush is selected. Make sure the hardness is set to 0% and soft round brush is selected right there. The mode is normal, opacity at 100%, flat 100%. And after doing that, you're simply going to come and sample an area on the skin. So which area do you want the rest of the skin to look like in this case? So I'm just going to come increase on the size of the brush by using the bracket key on the keyboard, and hold down the option key on the keyboard, or you can hold down the alternate key on the keyboard and simply click on an area that you want the rest of the skin to look like. So alternate and left click, and it is going to bring the, as soon as you hold down the option key on the keyboard or the alternate key on the keyboard, it is going to bring up the eyedropper tool and simply left click to sample that color, and you can see the color is displaying right here or under the color option. So after choosing that color, you're simply going to come and select the empty layer that we created. And you're going to come to select and simply come to subject, and Photoshop is going to automatically help us select the subject. So after the subject has been selected, the next step is going to be painting on the image or the skin. Remember to come back and select the layer that you want to paint the colors onto, which is the empty layer in this case. So after doing that, we're simply going to come and start painting. So you simply left click and hold down to paint. For those with a graphics tablet, and I would recommend as a photographer you own or you purchase a graphics or retouching tablet, because it's going to help you save so much time when it comes to editing and when it comes to this kind of tedious processes when it comes to editing. So I'm just going to, so keep away from painting the hair or the makeup in this case, or you can simply reduce on the flow of the brush so that the effect doesn't really affect the makeup directly. So I'm just going to reduce on the size by using the bracket keys on the keyboard. So to always reduce on the size of the brush tool, you can always use the bracket keys or the open and close box bracket keys on the keyboard. So I'm just going to come and paint just like that. I hope you can see what we are achieving in this case. So I'm just going to come and paint on majority of the areas that have or contain skin. So come this hand area and also paint just like that. So you can see the selection that we made initially earlier on is helping us keep within the areas of the subject or the model that we are working on in this case. So I'm just going to come and paint all those areas. So I'll come and make sure that or ensure that I have painted each and every area that has skin. So if at all I made the mistake on a given area, this is how you can correct that. Simply come and get the eraser tool and make sure that mode, so this is the eraser tool, the mode is set to brush and opacity at 100%. So with that done, you can simply rub away or erase the mistakes that you may have done. So you can erase it from the lips if at all you had accidentally painted on the lips. So when you find that the effect is too much for your liking, always come the opacity of this layer that has the color grading and reduce on the opacity to your liking, so that the effect can be natural and look better. So we're just going to go with around 67. So it's the image before after. Right now the skin looks better and it looks even. So what do we want to do next is perfecting the colors. So in order to perfect the colors, we're simply going to come and create a black and white adjustment layer and change. So I'm just going to Command Z to undo. So first of all, deselect by pressing Ctrl D to deselect the selection. And after deselecting, simply come and create a black and white adjustment layer. Change the blend mode from normal to multiply. Remember, the multiply blend mode is always going to darken, so come the opacity and simply reduce on the opacity as low as possible to around, I feel like 7 is okay. And we are going to come to hue and saturation. Remember, the skin can sometimes look orange, so just going to come after creating a hue and saturation adjustment layer, come to where you see the reds and simply come and take down the lightness to your liking. So I'm just going to go with around negative 6 is okay. So just want to play around with the colors or the blacks in the image. So you're just going to come to selective color, and as the name suggests, we want to be selective with the colors. So we just want to work on the blacks. So just come and target the blacks. Come to where you see blacks right here and take up the blacks just like that to around 4, and you can play around with the cyans to see what works best for you. So I'll just add that kind of cinematic vibe to the blacks. I feel like 6 is okay. So I just want to add some contrast to the image. So I'll just come and create a levels adjustment layer, and after doing that, I'll hold down the option key on the keyboard. For Windows is alternate, and drag in the blacks up to when the blacks are showing in the image. So I'll do the same for the whites and stop at the point whereby we are starting to get some reds in the image. I feel like that is okay. So it's a before after. Now that the image is popping, the next thing is going to be fine-tuning the image even better. So in order to fine-tune this very image so that it can look better, we just want to add a little bit of glow or shine to the image. So just going to come to the curves adjustment layer right here, and after creating a curves adjustment layer, we're simply going to come and left click on this pointer on the left hand side and drag it up to when you feel like the highlights are looking better for you. And after doing that, double click on this curves layer to open up the layer style dialog box, and simply come to where you see blend if, make sure gray is selected, and come to underlying layer. So just want to take the effect away from affecting the other areas, and we only want to target the highlights. So take the effect from the shadows and the midtones in this case. So just come left click and drag up these pointers up to only when the highlights are affected in this case. Then you just want to blend the effect to be better or to blend into a skin. Hold down the option key on the keyboard and split this. Just split it just like that up to when the effect is blending into the image, and click OK. Select the curves adjustment layer and simply press Ctrl I, or you can use Command I on the keyboard to invert the effect. And after inverting the effect, come and get the brush tool. Mode is normal, opacity and flat 100%. And also make sure to have black and white on these two color swatches. So you can reset by left clicking on the tiny boxes, and with white as the foreground color, so you can switch between black and white by using the arrow key. So with the brush tool selected, simply come and paint on the areas that you feel should have had those nice and rich highlights, and it's going to make the image or the skin glow in this case. So you can see before after. So you can always come the opacity and reduce on the opacity to your liking, around 79 before after. So after doing this, the next thing is going to be doing some eye whitening. So in order to whiten the eyes of our subject, in this case we are going to come and create a curves adjustment layer, and after creating it, simply come and make sure master is selected, and come to where you see saturation, and remember saturation is the intensity of a given color. You're just going to take out the saturation from the image to around negative 76. So you're just going to go with negative 76 or 78, and it's going to desaturate the image. Press Ctrl I on the keyboard, or you can use Command I on the keyboard. Zoom into the eyes in this case, and after zooming in, reduce on the size of the brush by using the bracket keys on the keyboard, and simply paint on what you feel is meant to be white in the white area of the eye. So I'm just going to come and paint just like that, so you can see what we have been able to achieve in this case. So you can use the same technique for teeth whitening. So when you find the effect is too much, you can always come to the opacity and reduce it to your liking so that it can look as natural as possible. So after you have done this, the next thing is going to be, this eye looks a little bit smaller than this other eye. So you're going to create another stamp visible layer by pressing Shift Option Command E on the keyboard. For Windows, the Shift Alternate Control E on the keyboard. Then come to Filter and come to where you see Liquify. So when you come to Liquify, it is going to open up the Liquify window, and you can see we have where it says Face Aware Liquify. So this eye is smaller, so you can increase on the size of the eye by using this. You can increase how wide you want it to be or the height of the eye. So let's play around with the right slider. So you can see when you play around with the slider, you can either make the eye smaller or you can make it look closer to this other eye and can be better. So you can even increase on the size slightly so they can be the same. So I feel like this is okay, around 10. So you can see the before after. We have just corrected how the size was looking of the eye. So after doing that, we're just going to come and click OK, go back into Photoshop. So the next thing that we want to do is simply working on the background or trying to remove these distractions from the background. So we are simply going to come and select the areas of the background that we don't need. So just come and get the pen tool, and with the pen tool selected, you can as well use another technique of simply coming and selecting the subject. So just come, filter, and simply come and select and come to subject. So when the subject is selected, you can now come, right click, get any quick selection tools right here, lasso tool or the quick selection tool. Right click and simply come and select inverse. So just come, select inverse so that only the background has been selected. Come and get the brush tool. So with the brush tool selected, here is the trick. So we're going to hold down the option key on the keyboard to sample a color near a given area that we want to remove and simply paint. So hold down option and sample that color and simply paint just like that. Sample and paint, and by just doing that, you can see we have gotten rid of that. And you can as well come and get the mixer brush tool with the normal settings that we had for our frequency separation. Make sure clean brush is selected once again and try to remove these dirty patches and blend the colors that we have just painted in the background just like that. You can see how this is going to make the image look nicer or look better. So you can see the effect in this case. So you can see that cleaning the background has even made the image better before after. So just come and paint once again. So press Ctrl D, or you can use Command D on the keyboard to deselect or to deactivate the selection. So this is the image that we have, and you can see where we got the image from. So this is the image initially, before, after. You can see how nice the image has gotten to be or to look. So after doing this, you can as well play around with the hair area and make it look better. So we can come back to our liquify and liquify some parts of her hair so that it can look better or look in line. So you're just going to come to filter and come to where you see liquify, and it's going to open up the liquify once again. So you can now zoom in by using Ctrl plus on the keyboard and hold down the spacebar key to drag to your desired area. So make sure this forward warp tool is selected, and you can simply click slowly just like that, and you can see reduce on the size as usual by using the box bracket keys on the keyboard. So I'm just going to push just like that. I think you can see how better the hair is getting to be or to look in this case. So I'll just come and push that in. Yeah, I feel like this looks better than it was initially before. That's the before after. You can see the magic of the liquify tool. You can now come back and click OK, and you can see how the image has gotten to look better. So you can as well play around with the white area in the image by coming back and creating a selective color adjustment layer. Come to where you see whites and come to where you see yellows. You can as well introduce a given color to the image, so depending on what you want. So you can see you can make the background even close to pure white if at all you wish to. So when you feel like it is also affecting the image, select this layer mask right here and press Ctrl I on the keyboard, and with the normal brush tool selected, this is the normal brush, and white as the foreground color. Just want to paint the effect only in the white area, just like that. So I'm using an opacity and flow of 100%, just like that. So I'm using our white brush to paint, just like that. So depending on what you want as a photographer, this is just more of a bonus trick that you can use. So I'm just going to reduce on the opacity so that it is not all over the face or the area. So when you feel like the effect is too much for your skin, rather all the colors are too much, always come the hue and saturation and target the reds, and you can as well come the lightness and play around with the lightness to your liking so that the effect can be better or seamless. So this is why we started with the image initially, before, after, before, after, before, and after. So this is how you can easily edit your images better when it comes to Photoshop. And finally, you want to save or export the image. So in order to export the image, simply come to File, come to Export, and come to Export As, and it's going to open up the Export As dialog box right here in Photoshop. Make sure the format of the file is set to JPEG and the quality is set all the way to the maximum, which is 7 for my case. Make sure the resample is set by cubic sharper, and also make sure the color space, convert sRGB, and also embed color profile have been checked in this case, and click on export and save the image wherever you want to save it and hit save. So when it is done saving, it is going to automatically close that window. And right now we are done learning how to edit and color grade your images in Photoshop from the very start to the very end. And if at all you have enjoyed this, simply like this video and don't forget to subscribe if at all you have been watching and you're not yet subscribed to this channel. Ronix from Ronix Photography. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in more videos on this channel. Don't forget to keep practicing and also keep creating.